From zero to the property landlord owner. So today we're really happy to have Chris Leblanc. He is one of our famous and best travel vlogger who start everything from zero as a noob content creator, and he turned himself into the property owner, the landlord, and grow his business massively, and he decided to stay in Bali, Indonesia. So we're gonna learn how he turned his hobby, his passion, into a great business. So stay tuned, share and subscribe, and welcome to CEO Talk. All right, Chris, welcome to Astronacci.
Thank you so much.
Really glad, really honored we have you here today. And you're so famous content creator, and everybody loves you. And even in my TV now, we can see you there.
It's really an honor to be here, and it's a nice change because most of my days are spent around Canggu and Bali, and
Correct.
so to be here in Jakarta, I mean, it's not my first time, but it's my first time really just taking a time to be here, to enjoy it, and I've been enjoying the food scene. The food is unbelievable.
Correct, yeah. So this is the CEO Talk. So everybody who get invited to this program, they already proved that they can change anything from zero into the great things that other people can learn.
Yeah.
And for your case, I know you from the YouTube. You were making a lot of content, like traveling around the world. And I just aware as well, you started everything with like one single iPhone camera, I guess, right?
It started with a GoPro.
GoPro,
Very
okay.
simple, humble
Very
beginnings.
simple,
Yeah.
humble beginning. And then finally, you are now established yourself in Bali, Indonesia, and you become a landlord, set up a property and build a luxury villa in Bali. So a lot of people want to see, and people think that, hey, I really want to become a YouTuber, content creator, but they don't really know what to do.
Sure,
but you
yeah.
have very clear mission. You start this game like 8 years, correct?
It's been 8 years now.
8 years, right?
Yeah.
From zero until you can buy the land bank and then build everything,
Yeah.
just from become a content creator.
I feel like every year brings a new level or a new accomplishment. And so it's been really interesting because back in 2015, I was an accountant. I was working with Ernst & Young, one of the big firms,
yeah,
and I was very unhappy. So I knew I had to change something about it. And that's essentially what gave me that little kick in the butt to go try something. And that's when I got into content creation in a full-time way.
The problem is you decided to become digital nomad. It's really risky. Since your accountant, normally accountant is pretty safe, they're conservative, and why on earth you decided to change everything? And where it was, in the Canada or?
I was in Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver,
yeah.
so you are Canadian, right?
I am Canadian, yeah.
And then your Leblanc name is from your
It's from
French,
my dad's side.
your
He
father's
grew up
side.
in Quebec, yeah.
So basically you leave everything from Canada and then you travel around the world and you decided to become digital nomad. How old was that?
I was 21 at the time.
Wow.
And it started with a one-way ticket to Thailand. So when I quit my accounting job, I probably only had a couple thousand subscribers across YouTube. Maybe I had 10,000 on Instagram. So by all accounts, a very humble start and really not a place that would ever have given me financial security. So it was technically a bit of a risk, but for me at the time, I'm very grateful that I was in that position of being an accountant, because sometimes you have to see what you're running from to know what you're running towards. And so that was like my fuel. That was my thing that kept me going even when I had no money, even when I had no idea where it would lead me.
Wow.
I knew that at least if I could find a way to make a humble amount of money to be able to live a life of adventure, I would be 10 times better off than having that stable 9-to-5 job in Canada.
That's really nice perspective. I mean, you are not looking to have like a tons of dollars, but
was never the goal.
You convert that money into like happiness by traveling around and seeing around, and
yeah.
And you never know that as per today we're gonna meet, and then you as the landlord in the property in Bali. You never plan of it?
Well, I definitely didn't think that I would be achieving the things I've achieved at this age. I knew I wanted to have a home one day, but it didn't seem realistic that it would happen anytime soon. Property prices were so expensive. The way I was taking my life was taking me away from financial certainty. So I thought that, you know, as long as I was happy, I would put the financial side secondary to all of that. But what I didn't realize was chasing my passion and chasing my happiness actually led me to more financial promise than I could have ever imagined.
How you get your money, then you can buy the land bank in Bali.
Ad revenue on YouTube then eventually brought me to getting a few brand deals that were just a few $100s. And then from there, I started getting bigger brand deals with global brands like LG, Samsung.
What do you mean by global brand deal? Is it like endorsement or what?
Endorsements within YouTube videos. So I might get a laptop and I would talk about how the new LG Gram is useful to travelers. And by putting them in a video, you know, at some point it was worth $5,000. Eventually it became worth $10,000. And then, you know, nowadays you can charge 20 grand plus 30 grand for just a sponsorship in a video. So I launched my first ever digital travel guide. So I showed people how to travel Peru, how to travel Thailand, the Philippines. And these physical or these digital travel guides were interesting, but then I launched a product that kind of even, you know, trumped and multiplied the amount that I was earning with my e-com sales, and that was my video guide on how to edit a travel video. So I had my travel guides that, you know, maybe were doing $2,000 a month, and then all of a sudden I created this informational video on how to edit, and that was doing $5,000 to $10,000 a month. So I thought to myself, why would I make more travel guides when I can put more time and attention into building the second product to that lineup? And that's what eventually led me to building out an entire content creator academy. And I spent 9 to 12 months of my life basically locked away in an office, working side by side with one of my best friends to build this thing out. And it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. I think if I were to pick one challenge that really put me to the limits, it was building out this academy.
So the video editing, is that the Lost Creator Academy?
So LCA, Lost Creator Academy, is where I teach people everything from the creative to the business, how to pick up that camera and get started, how to open up your e-commerce website to leverage your audience, how to, you know, get confident on camera. I always show people where I started because it's a beautiful story, really. Like, I was not confident, I was terrified.
Yeah, I saw the video.
I stumbled over my words.
I saw even your face in front of the camera is so weird.
Yeah. But that's the best thing about it is a lot of people want to go back and delete their old starting point because they're embarrassed by it. But for me, that's like the best way to show people what's possible when you put in the time, the energy, and you really believe in yourself.
And I bought one of your LCA product. Basically, I'm your student.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. So how much money roughly you make from the LCA and how many years for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely a 7-figure business, so it's earned millions of dollars, and it's the best.
$1 million?
More.
From that LCA?
Yeah.
Oh my God, and how many years?
Probably get the average person joining around $679. We're now almost around 4,000 students, so the math on that kind of explains the revenue itself. But you know, it's been over about a period of 2.5 years now, coming up toward 3. I felt in that moment when I was building LCA like I was taking a risk, because by giving up my time of traveling, of spending time with friends, and also saying no to brand deals, which again were guaranteed $10,000 here, $20,000 here. Instead, I invested in building something bigger, but the amount that came back because of that really, you know, calculated risk has been so much greater.
Yeah. So what is the best strategy for any content creator or any digital nomad to put their life into it, like committed 100%, maybe 1,000% committed, and then can turn that into $1 million? So basically, you are $1 million before 30.
The best thing to do is to, of course, cut your spending on non-essentials. But I think aside from just cutting that back to spending, the most important thing you can do that is recession-proof is investing in skills, because we've seen it happen. We're seeing, you know, all-time levels of instability in the markets. So you have to ask yourself, what is that thing that if everyone got wiped out and set to 0 tomorrow, you would still have? I think that's skills. So learning how to, pick up a camera and use it, learning how to communicate better, because that's such a valuable skill, whether you stay as a creator or go on to create a marketing business or go on to become a trader. Communication skills are going to take you so much further. So yes. I think investing in yourself and skills is the starting point. Because now if somebody took away everything I had, the villa, the money, the academy, and I had to start from scratch, I know I could build a 7-figure business all over again. There's no question about it, because the skills are with me. That part's not going anywhere. And those skills can be easily transferred into different things.
Agree. So that's the first step. And how you choose the business, how generate the business to get $1 million?
The business is something that I think everyone has their own different businesses, and you never know what it's going to become. Just like I didn't think picking up a GoPro would lead to building a villa in Bali. But I think that ultimately the thing is, if you're out there actively chasing down your dreams, you're going to start to get those answers. You're going to start to find a little bit of direction here, a little bit of direction there. And so I think the best thing is just start figuring out where you provide value. It could be entertainment, it could be inspiration, could be education. So for me, I kind of leaned into, I had traveled a little bit as a backpacker. I could help people. Here's how you navigate the Philippines. Here's how you navigate through Thailand or Bali. And that was how I started to get people to understand what my brand was about and to start to see me for the first time on camera. And so ultimately, I think that finding your place in social media and then creating as much as you can, putting in all your time and energy, you'll start to find those answers, because nobody can answer that for you.
Correct.
And
you have
only
to figure it out by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And what is the social media platform that you really like to boost your business and marketing nowadays?
YouTube. Yeah.
Is that YouTube still relevant right now?
I think that in an ecosystem where all the platforms are kind of going face to face on short form content, YouTube's position feels to me like it's stronger than ever, because I think that while there's definitely a lot of market share being stolen from the Facebook and Instagrams of the world by, let's say, TikTok. TikTok's become a huge force, and definitely a great place to grow, by the way. I think they're a great platform. But YouTube is the platform that has paid creators from pretty much the start, from the early days, 50% of the ad revenue. They're the platform that allows creators to have deep and meaningful connection, where I can not just tell you how to travel Bali, but you've watched me for hours and hours, and you start to understand me. You start to connect with me beyond just the practicality of it all. And that's where meaningful connections are made. That's where strong businesses are made. And I know that TikTok has their eyes set on long form, so it's not to say that there's not going to be a challenger. But right now, for me, long form is the best connection builder, and it is currently undisputed by YouTube. There's no one that quite has any form of handle over that just yet.
Correct.
But short form has its place, and it's like the old expression, if you get too complacent, that's when you start to become irrelevant, or that's when you start to fall off, because what may work today could be different next month. Things move so fast, as we've seen.
And you still rely on the YouTube with the longer duration of the video instead of you play with the shorts?
Yeah, I mean, we are playing, my team is definitely looking at shorts, and we're trying to get the short form strategy down. We've been on TikTok for a while, but we're putting more attention into it today than ever before. But one downside of TikTok and Instagram, at least today, is that you could put a lot of energy into creating a great piece, but the problem is it's going to become irrelevant after 24 to 78 or to 72 hours. So like 1 to 3 days, and these pieces kind of drop off. But what I love about YouTube is that I could make a video that took me 2 weeks, and if I put my heart and soul into that video, it could get views for the next few years. And I love that you can create evergreen content, especially for people like you and me who are educators. We teach people.
Yes.
It's fantastic that if you made a video about how to, read the markets, that video is still, as long as it's good information, it'll be there getting views next year and maybe even 5 years from now. Just as like my How to Travel Bali video has about 3.6 million views, and I posted it 2 years ago. It has basically doubled the amount of views every single year because of that principle of evergreen content.
And regarding the competitions, who is your real competitor in this industry? which is other than your property, because it's two different worlds, right? Yep. And then regarding the content creation and how you handle your competitors.
I'm a self-learned entrepreneur. So some people came at it from a different angle because they had worked their whole lives in a corporate environment. They learned how to, manage the competition. I think whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I've actually always maintained a little bit of kind of naivety in what my competitors are doing. I take a little bit of inspiration in how they set up their funnels or how they set up their landing page, what their offer is and what their price point is. And I'm sure it has some place in how I price myself in the market. But aside from that, I just go about marketing myself in my own authentic way, because I'm not necessarily targeting their audience. There's an infinite amount of people in this planet who want to become creators. And so I don't really believe that just because somebody else is selling a content creator course or a travel guide, there's not enough room for the both of us to succeed. So I like to just stick to what's my strength. And my strength is the average dude, the relatable dude that started from the ground up, that learned how to do this by making every mistake in the book. So I know where most people come at from their own journeys. I know where most people are at the start, the fears they face, the complications that they're bound to encounter. So I feel like my strong suit is that person that I've been there, I've done that, let me help you through it.
And regarding the positioning and a differentiation, what do you think yourself in terms of the positioning and differentiation in this content creator academy thing?
We haven't really leaned in so heavily to this like cinematic, skydiving, motorbikes ripping down the beach kind of branding. And I think that that's something that's very common in the cinematography world, is like everyone kind of has this very similar brand. We have actually maintained more of like a branding where it focuses on people looking for financial freedom. And that has been very gender neutral. So unlike most content creator academies, we're actually a 50-50 split of men to women.
Right.
So when that community comes together, not only do they share a passion for learning how to use a camera, how to become financially independent, but they're also like-minded people. So that's kind of where our branding is kind of like, it's Leblanc, the YouTube channel, but with content creator as the focus.
Why loss? Why you pick loss word?
Going back to the accounting days, I was lost. I didn't know where I wanted to be. And I also, I sat on this for 2 months. I was like playing around with Nomad Leblanc. I was playing around with ideas like Vagabond Leblanc. And like, I'm so glad I stuck in the direction I came with. But ultimately, one day the word lost just hit me and I was like, that describes me so well right now. I don't know what I want, but I know that what's happening here in this, Western world for me is not what I want from any, like, I don't want to be in Vancouver. I don't want to live a comfy 9-to-5 life without adventure and without passion. So ultimately it was a moment of setting out into the unknown, getting lost, and being, confident that the answers would kind of show themselves, and they did.
Nice. Yeah. So what camera are you using now? Are you a Sony guy or a Canon guy or what?
I am a Canon guy. Okay. I have no allegiance. So, I will say if I were to start from scratch, if I hadn't invested the tens of thousands of dollars in the gear that my team and I now have, I'd probably go with Sony. But I am also even just shooting with my iPhone and my Osmo Action and whatever action camera I have in my pocket. Yeah, I have a second channel and a main channel. The second channel is actually my favorite channel because
what's that?
When I walked in today, I filmed on a GoPro. So for the content that might not have the high energy impact that is needed for the main channel, the second channel is exactly that. It's like where I can connect a little bit more deeply with the core audience and share things that aren't always so, exciting and so sparkly and glamorous. Like, I'm on a travel day, here's what 24 hours in a plane looks like, or here's my thought of the day, or something like that. So
do you think we need a second channel?
I'd say hesitantly it's a good thing, but it's also not for everyone. You have to have the systems to be able to take it on.
Correct. And can you share your strategy and how the trade partner there, maybe they can invest or do a collaboration with you in your villa? Because I personally really want to set up a trader boot camp and use your villa. They stay there and we can teach them how to trade and maybe can share how to travel well, see? But I really want to know what is the strategy, why you think that Bali is a good place for you to settle down and build a luxury villa here in Indonesia?
I think that Bali is just the place where I feel most comfortable. I actually made a video about this the other day where everybody has these different pillars in their life that they're seeking. And so some people want stability, some people want adventure, some people are looking for, you know, free thinking friends, and others are looking for more conventional thinking, whatever. I found that Bali just had the perfect stack for me. Is it a perfect place? Of course not. There's no perfect place on this planet. Right. But it has a lot of the energy, it has a lot of the opportunity. I love being close to a beach, being near a waterfall, then being able to get on an airport or go to the airport and fly to some of my favorite destinations. So this weekend I'm going to Bangkok, and then Japan's reopening, so I'll be going there after. So having that proximity to things I love, on top of that, I'm going to, I live in Dubai as well. So Dubai is
oh, you live in Dubai?
I do, yeah. Oh. I have a home there. So being close to Dubai, the great thing is Bali and Dubai have like opposite weather patterns. So when it's kind of muggy and hot in Bali, it's beautiful in Dubai. Wow. And vice versa. So I've been very kind of, you know, it didn't happen overnight. Wasn't just born with these answers, but I built the life I wanted, and Bali fit really well into that.
Wow, nice. And tell me more about your villa and what's your plan about that villa? What's the strategy on that villa? So
the villa is like all things in my business, you know, things are subject to adaptation and change, but when it all started, as I knew more and more my life in Bali was the best I had ever found, I wanted to find ways to feel even more at home. And I had a couple dogs, I have my partner here, we wanted a little bit more space, and we wanted to feel truly comfortable. So I started looking at land and connecting with locals. So I think one thing I did kind of differently than the average person is, rather than just hiring a realtor, I was just driving my motorbike around, saying hi to people, trying to find beautiful green, high trees, unique landscape. And ultimately, I found this plot of land that...
Where is that?
Tumbak Bayou. So kind of near Pereranon. Very, very up-and-coming area. And coincidentally, I mean, I got it at a very opportune time, you know, before the return of tourism, before the boom of property prices. So I got it at a great time. Probably the only performing asset in my portfolio this year, so we'll take it. But ultimately, I found this plot that had massive, massive trees. And so started networking with the locals, having lunch, just, you know, doing business in a Balinese kind of way. And through that connection, I have not only just found land, but also a really great relationship with the people who have leased me the land. So ultimately, that was stage one. Stage two was starting to network with contractors, architects. That led me to probably a 6-month kind of planning process. I think a lot of people build faster, but we wanted to make sure that the renders were completely kind of complementary to the landscape. Rather than just treating it as like, okay, here's a 15 ARA cube, we said, okay, where are the big trees? How does the land slope? Let's work around that. So that's something we've done that slowed things down, but this isn't really as much of a profit-driven venture as it is a passion. I'm really excited to build my home. Now, this is my home, but I have to be real with myself. The more and more time I've put into this project, the more opportunity I'm seeing to rent it out as well. It's going to be, of course, very in demand, and if my place goes for $1,000 or $2,000 a night, it's pretty expensive to sleep on that bed, especially when it's just me, my partner, and what will be 4 empty other rooms. So what's happening is we're kind of now looking at it as like, okay, we travel a lot. We're gone for more than, usually 7 to 8 months of the year, traveling around the world. So maybe during those periods, that's when it's opened up to, people like yourselves, or of course, maybe you're coming over even when we're there, as in one of our extra rooms, just come hang. But to just have it on the rental market during the periods where we're gone is kind of where I see that dream going. And if that works out, then, I mean, even before it works out, I'm so confident in it that we're actually going to be developing 7 additional units on the lower land. So that's kind of where travel vlogging, my broke backpacker days, filming myself with a little Hero 4 Silver GoPro, has led me to property development.
That's crazy.
It's a very
unique
180. Yeah, it is. It is really crazy.
How many villas did you build there?
In total, with the luxury Lost Villa, so Lost Villa is the top plot of the land. On the lower plot, we're going to have 7 other units. So I guess it'd be 8 in total, but really it's kind of like, you know, the Lost Villa is truly, it's quite large.
When that villa going to be ready to rent?
July next year.
Oh, 2023 is pretty fast.
Yeah, oh yeah, fast turnaround time. I mean, there's been a lot of time setting everything up, but the actual moment from the contractor starting to when it completes, it should be done by July. What
is your exit strategy on that villa? I mean, you're gonna sell it or what?
No plans.
No plans.
I want to enjoy it. I want to live there. I want to enjoy the opportunity that it brings to host, to have friends over, to have my family come see Indonesia. They've never even been. Like, as much as I'm gone from Bali majority of the year, it's still in some regard the place I consider home. You know, between there and Dubai, I want to show my family that. And even when the day comes, which, you know, I know you just had a very special day the other day.
Yeah.
I'm not at that place where I'm having any kids, but I know that when that day comes, I think Indonesia would be the place I'd want to raise the kids. I love the life that I see, to be able to be surrounded by beautiful greenery, to have a life where I hope and believe my children will be able to stay off of social media a little bit, because as much as I embrace and make my living off of it, I also see where it's dangerous to be over-reliant, especially for developing minds. So that's a topic for another day, but I really feel like there's no better place to raise kids than Bali.
And what ROI that you expect on that villa business?
Well, let's just say this. If it was rented full-time as a property, and let's say I got to a place where I wasn't staying there as much as I had anticipated, let's say it's a full-time rental, I would imagine that in 2.5 to 3 years, it's probably going to have paid itself off.
Wow. And the break-even in 3 years?
Let's hope. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, it could be faster, could be slower, but I guess, you know, where some people, true property developers, might be coming at this with Excel spreadsheets, I'm coming at this with passion. So it's slightly different. I know that, you know, so far in my business, making decisions off of confidence and just passion has always worked out. I'm not trying to get the extra 5% ROI that maybe the engineer would or the developer would. I'm not going cheap on property or the materials like others might. So I think my manufacturing costs could also be higher in areas that generally would not return themselves in a rental property market. But again, maybe people will also factor that in when they rent. Maybe they're gonna understand, because unlike your average Airbnb where you just see a series of photos, people watched this thing be built. And even though they don't know, you know, what the countertops are on the Airbnb, they know I'm using Dectin. And for them, like, they just see the quality being used across the whole villa, and they know, like, wow, you know, this is a home, not a rental property.
Correct.
I think there could be a factor of, like, you know, maybe that helps the price go up 10 to 50% above what it would normally charge on Airbnb because of the branding, because of the extra love put into that brand.
Yeah, that's really makes sense. And what is your special advice or suggestion for other people here, the tradepreneur? Because you turn the content creator into the owner of the property or the villa. And then how I teach people, you start from very humble amount of the capital, and you trade it well. You learn how to trade. Like you say, skill is everything, because skill is like...
I could have used you earlier on, because honestly, I think if there's one thing I did poorly in my business, it's managing assets. I missed out on years of growth in the Forex markets, in buying into stocks. My money just sat in a bank account. Terrible idea. But, you know, you live and you learn. I'm only 29, and so even though, of course, I would say I've missed out on doubling and tripling my entire wealth, I'm still very fortunate because while I messed up in some aspects of being an entrepreneur, like every entrepreneur will, I also did others really well. So if I were to say what my tips would be for somebody, it's to invest in the skills. You just have to have a confidence and know that whether that be trading or whether that be using a camera, time will come when you find your way to make your money. It might not be in the first week or the first month. It may even take a year before you start to see meaningful cash flow.
Wow,
but
there's no shortcut.
There isn't really a shortcut, but that's also, there's no better feeling than to make money doing what you love. So I would argue that you could maybe in theory make better money doing some other thing. I would still have chosen the passion over the higher ROI. You know, I could, in theory, have stuck with being an accountant and gotten a great income. In the end, choosing my passion not only meant I was enjoying my 9-to-5 life, or I was enjoying my entire career building process infinitely more, but it even led to greater payoff than I imagined, because I think when you become passionate about something, it even leads to a healthy level of obsession. And that obsession leads to unbelievable returns.
Correct, correct. So that's beautiful story, Chris. And then for last word, what is your plan for the next 10 years?
Okay, wow. Well, I think that this year is a transformative year, because while I am, you know, I'm 29 years old, and I'm learning a lot right now. This year has been all about team development. So we've got team around the world, 10 members, where I've gone from being kind of a small team, just delegating through WhatsApp, to now having to build a bit of a hierarchy, to build communication systems, to build routines and ways where people within the team are communicating to each other. So that has involved me kind of having to reel back on some other aspects, but it's also what I believe is going to help me grow. So right now, we're opening a guest house. We're opening up our first villa, which is then going to lead to the next series of villas. If we find a lot of, I say we, but if I find a lot of potential in these projects, then that's going to be one of the things that dictates where it goes. At the same time, I'm building kind of a new ticket item to get into LCA, the 10-day creator challenge, which is a much more affordable price point. If this kind of helps reinvent what LCA can be, then maybe LCA becomes the golden goose again, as it once was. So I think that ultimately, like, none of these projects are yet in the place where I can say, this is it. But if I think about where I want to be in 10 years, it's definitely involved in property and teaching. I love being able to help people, to teach them, to take them to being exactly like I was, lost, broke, unconfident, and then getting themselves to a new place. That's a passion. When I think about design and building an experience from the ground up, like I'm doing with the Lost Villa, that's what I want from my life. So I think there's going to be a place where both like LCA and property continue to be the two businesses that dominate and take over a lot of the passion in my life.
Great, that's amazing. So guys, you know that 8 years, there's no shortcut from zero, $1 million property owner. So everything is a process, and as a summary, he really means to invest in skill and knowledge, because there's no such of ways to invest in yourself and knowledge, because that's the core, that's the starting point to build yourself higher and higher every single year. Thank you so much for having us here, Chris.
I look forward to going out for some dinner tonight and getting to know you better. And
maybe I can share my skill in investing in stocks, especially Indonesia stocks, and then you can double your money with a very prudent and low risk as you wish. Right?
Well, you heard me. If you'd only found me earlier, you could have helped me out a lot back in the day.
All right. So hope you enjoy this. Share to your friend, and here we are again. Respectful travel vlogger, Leblanc. See you guys.